I have known my wife for 6 years, married for 5. I am 28. She's 27. My wife is currently pregnant and she's taking a break from the police force to have a baby. So this whole drama started when this scumbag police officer knocked on my door and threatened me because my wife and I had an argument. I threw her out of the house after she assaulted me. We got into a physical altercation, which she initiated, and I kicked her out of the house. He thought that because he has a badge, he could do whatever he wants. The police officer is my wife's patrol car partner back when she was active. They have been partners for a little over a year now. My wife has been in the police force for 4 years. Ever since she started partnering with this guy about 1 year ago, she has been acting strange, and our marriage has been deteriorating. We got into an argument, and it escalated to a big fight. She was the aggressive one. She hit me first. I kicked her out of the house, and then she called him. He showed up at my door, telling me that if I keep provoking my wife, he's going to throw me in jail. I have always suspected that there was something going on between them. Now I'm sure of it. Let me give you guys a background that predicated this incident. Back when my wife started thinking about becoming a police officer, it was at the time she graduated from a community college with a degree in criminal justice. I was in between jobs at the time, and we were struggling with money. The police department was paying well, so it was an easy decision for her to decide to join the force. She never thought about making it a career because of how dangerous being a police officer could be. A major incident happened when she responded to a domestic violence issue and was trying to arrest somebody, and she ended up getting physically assaulted, which resulted in a serious injury that left her bedridden and almost cost her an eye. What happened was she was responding to a domestic dispute from a woman and her drugged-up boyfriend. She showed up at the location thinking it would be a slap on the wrist kind of thing. She had no partner because her partner called in sick and they were short-handed, so she thought she could ride solo. She thought it was going to be a light-duty kind of thing. She knocked and nobody answered. When she started hearing a woman screaming inside the house, she called for backup, then tried to break inside the house. Well, it took her a few minutes, but she finally got in. When she got inside, this drugged-up guy was battering his wife, so she pulled out her taser and tased him, but the taser just got him angrier. So he got on her before she could pull her gun. They got into a scuffle, and she got the worst of it. She was tough enough to hold on to her weapon till backup showed up and light up the guy. It was a terrifying experience for us, just like any other near-death experience. She could have lost her life. When I went to the hospital to see her, she looked like she had been in a car accident. Seeing her on the hospital bed was one of the worst days of my life. She was all swollen up, and the doctor said she had almost lost one eye. It was a wake-up call for us. I stayed beside her at the hospital for 2 days. It took her a while to recover from not only the physical injuries, but the mental injuries linger. She was on a paid leave for almost a month. During her recovery, we had a serious discussion about her transitioning from law enforcement to becoming a TSA agent. It wouldn't pay as much, but I would sleep well at night, knowing that she is safe, because as a police officer, any day she walks out the door could potentially be her last. By that time, I had almost finished my mechanical training, and I was working on people's cars on the side, which was enough to pay the rent and utilities. After my wife recovered, she went back to work. She was relegated to a desk job, so she can regain her confidence before they are ready to put her back into the field. I remember the first week of her desk job. She came home complaining that it was too slow, and she wanted some adventure and some action. I reminded her about what happened when she was in a hurry for some action and didn't wait for backup. I told her that she would get used to it. My wife is always the type that talks about her work when she comes home. She talks about everybody at work in detail. I just listened because she's the type that has to vent to somebody. It's either she's talking to me or a therapist, so I'd rather be me because I can't afford a therapist. About 6 months after her desk job, she started talking about this guy that just got out of the Marines and joined the police force, and how he is too cocky and thinks he is G.I. Joe. She spoke about him in spite. She kept complaining of his arrogance and how much she hates him, how he is so disrespectful, and how she hopes he gets into trouble. She said she heard stories of how terrible he treats detainees, and she thinks he's abusing the law. My response was always that she could be a whistleblower, expose him, and would be protected against any retaliation, or she could just look the other way. From my opinion, I thought she was overreacting. Based on the things she was saying, I thought that maybe she was jealous of him. My wife has always been the type that hates overly arrogant people, I remember how much she hates Trump and how I couldn't get her to shut up about him. She traveled hundreds of miles to the ridiculous Women's March against Trump, and she became a liberal because of him. Politics never interests me, but I don't mind listening to her vent. In any case, I just thought that maybe this guy is some sort of mini Trump that got into her head, and she's just voicing her frustration. Well, this went on for a few months, and then suddenly it stopped. She stopped complaining about it. At first, I was relieved that she wasn't talking about him anymore, but then, a few weeks later, she started talking about going back to the field. I voiced my opposition to it and told her that it wasn't a great idea, and she stopped talking about it for a little while. After that, she brought it up several times. She said that all she would be doing was light duty. I reminded her that light duty got her into the hospital the first time. I thought it was the end of the conversation. Later on, she started telling me that she is working extra shift. Why I liked the fact that she was trying to contribute more. I find it strange because we didn't need money that bad at the time. We were doing okay financially. Plus, it was just me and her. We didn't have kids because she doesn't want to have kids at the time. I want kids at some point, but I wasn't in a hurry. I suspected that she was back on patrol and was doing it behind my back, so I tried to catch her in the act. When she told me that she was working overtime, I went to the police station where she was supposed to be, but I couldn't get in the officer's area without her knowing that I was there. So I waited for her, but she didn't come out for lunch or when her shift was supposed to be over. Unfortunately, I ran out of patience and went home. When she came back from work, I confronted her about it, and she lied that she was in her office. She knew that they wouldn't let me go to her office area, so there was no way I could confirm if she was on patrol other than to wait and catch her red-handed. I went as far as buying a radio scanner. I have seen it on movies several times, so I bought a police radio scanner. I listened to it for 2 days and recorded her on the scanner, but the most surprising part was the guy that she's been calling all kinds of arrogant and even comparing him to Trump is now her new patrol car partner. At this point, I didn't really suspect there was anything going on between them. I was just concerned that she lied to me and that she might end up getting assaulted and wind up at the hospital. Now she's trying to be G.I. Jane and play the adventurer of her favorite cop sitcom. But to me, she's too fragile and too cute for a patrol job. It's not for everybody, and I don't know how they even allow her to do it. When she came home that night, I confronted her about it. I reminded her that she's partnering with her adversary, Donald Trump. Her excuse was that she had no choice, and he was the only one available, and they made them patrol partners, and she didn't have an opinion in that matter. She even tried to say that I should be happy because I have someone brave and willing to put his life on the line, partnering with his wife, because that makes her safer. I told her that she wouldn't need any protection if she had stayed at her desk job or quit the police force altogether. But she dismissed my concerns. After I caught her in her lie, she started opening up about how she likes the police force and feels invigorated, and how she wants to be a detective and move up the ranks. It was obvious that somebody has been feeding her lines. She must have been listening or being influenced by her new patrol car partner, and now she's sounding more like him. That should have been a red flag, but I ignored it because I trusted my wife. I could slowly see my wife change from someone I know to somebody I didn't even recognize. The topics she now talks about are different. She doesn't even talk to me the way she used to before. Her hours are all over the place. We normally schedule time to spend together, but she's not willing to spend time with me anymore. She would tell me that she had a commitment to be patrolling with her partner because he wanted to work overtime. My plans are now based on when her patrol partner decides to work overtime. She would change plans on me at the drop of a hat to join this full-on patrol. I told her that this is not the platoon and you guys are not at war, so you can't cancel time with your husband to spend it with your work partner. Police or not, he can get another replacement. Then she responded that she didn't want to disappoint him, which absolutely drove me nuts. That was when I started suspecting that she might be having an affair. When I confronted her with my suspicions, I told her that she needs to stop partnering with him because I think that they are having an affair. She called me insecure and said that he is married with kids. And I quote, she said, he never cheats on his wife. That told me everything that I needed to know. So the choice of who sleeps with who is in his hands, because if she says that he would never cheat on his wife, then that means that she had attempted to cheat with him. She said I was reading too much into it. She said that women at work are constantly hitting on him, but he remains loyal. Even on her Facebook pictures, he likes all her photos. I mean, who does that? Who likes all the photos of a married woman? I confronted her with that, and all she said was that he was just her work partner. From then on, our marriage was on the rocks. I started to disdain my wife because she wouldn't stop working with this guy, and it seemed like she didn't care how unpleasant it made me feel. Even at some points, when I was giving her too much grief about it, she told me that she stopped. But when I asked people at her job, they would confirm that he was still her patrol partner. At some point, she started saying that she needs a break from the police force so she can have kids. She said she would stop taking her birth control. I didn't find it suspicious or anything. I suppose because her partner had kids, she wanted to mirror him, plus I wanted to have kids as well. About a month later, she got pregnant. A little over 3 months after, I accepted a lucrative job as a field technician. So basically, I work as a service technician for a medical equipment service company. The money was better than being a mechanic. It was too much to resist, so I was traveling 3 days out of a week. At this point, my wife was about 3 to 4 months pregnant and taking some time off work, so I was the sole breadwinner. I thought it was strange for her to be staying home all day and doing nothing, but I didn't think too much about it. After a conservative 3-day travel, I came back home one day, and my neighbor that I was friends with, because I had worked on his car for free several times before, told me that this police officer came by my house 3 days in a row and stayed there for hours. Back then, my wife wasn't working. She was taking some time off, so there was no reason for a police call to be there. When I came home, I confronted her about it. At first, she denied it, and then I told her that I have someone watching the house. Then she started saying that I was gone, and she needed some company, and that it was just an innocent visit. I told her that she can call any of her friends to keep her company. Why him? She claimed that I was making this a big deal, when it shouldn't be. I told her that I don't trust her anymore, and I believe she's having an affair. She lost it with me, started calling me an insecure person. I told her that if she wasn't such a harlot, I wouldn't be insecure. She slapped me twice on the face, tried to do it the third time, before I grabbed her hand to prevent her from hitting me. She was 5 months pregnant at the time, so I wasn't too rough with her. I was just defending myself. Her reactions wasn't too surprising to me because she had been physical with me a couple of times, and from experience, she resorts to violence when she's at fault, and she has lost the plot. I wrapped both of her hands, turned her around, lifted her and carried her to the front exit door as she struggled to get away. She was screaming and calling me all kinds of names, trying to get away from my grip. As I carried her out of the house, I knew the neighbors must have heard us. I wasn't going to let her stay in the house that night. I dropped her at our front entrance and locked it quickly behind her before she could get up. She tried to break the door, but wasn't successful. I guess she went to my neighbor and borrowed the phone. Interestingly enough, guess who she called? She didn't call 911. She didn't call her family or friends. She called this scumbag patrol officer of hers. He came to my door with full police authority, weapons drawn and everything. He came with a partner, and the partner was the only reasonable person between them. They were accusing me of all sorts of things. Luckily, I sustained bruises from her assault and took pictures to show that she was the one that assaulted me because he was ready to use deadly force on me. I guess he was trying to get me out of the way so he could continue banging my wife on the side. She had already lied that I was the one that initiated the fight and I was the one that abused her, but she had no proof. I had the bruises to prove it, but I still got handcuffed and treated like a criminal in my home. Then I was asked to leave my own house, at least for the night. I slept at the neighbor's house. I can't get over how I was roughed up and how I will be definitely filing a lawsuit. And guess what? He also falsified the domestic incident report. The following morning, I went back to my house. My wife has come back to her senses and is now apologizing for what happened and how she hits me and lied that I was the one that started it, even though she almost had me killed for her lies. I told her that it was best we separate at least till she gave birth to the baby. I told her that I was leaving, and she was worried about who was going to support her till she gets back to work. I told her she could get her lover that she called yesterday to support her. I moved out of the house the following day. I told her that I would pay half the lease on the house till it expires because my name is on the lease, but I'm not going to stay there as a man knowing that she's banging another man. She can lie all she wants, but the truth is very clear. To watch the part 2 of this video, please click the link on the description.